I'm making a big billet of Damascus steel for the throat and the tip embellishments on the scabbard for the Griffin sword. I've got a bunch of steel ready to go right here for our Damascus. We've got a big old pile of 1084 and 15 and 20. I went ahead and ground all the pickling and rusts and stuff off of them so we have nice clean steel to stack up. Before I stack this billet up though, I need to go turn the propane on and get the forge heating up so it'll be ready for this billet by the time I get it all welded. I haven't done any forging in a while and it's been really nice the last couple of weeks, but I think today it's actually cold and windy out, but we're about to find out how cold and windy. Oh man, it was like 75 degrees out this morning or something like that, and now it's very cold and windy. Propane's on. Where's my handy dandy little torch? See if I remember how to turn this thing on. It's been so long. We need some more fire bricks. They're all falling apart. I've got the forge heating up. I'm gonna go ahead and start stacking my 1084 and 15 and 20 billet. I think it's time to get a handle on the situation. Who's been using flux on my handle? You know how I know? Look at this weld. See that glassy stuff on there? Pretty sure that's borax flux that was probably on this handle. And then when I welded into it, it went to the surface of the weld. You can see it all the way around there. Wow, the billet's really sealed up well. You can actually see the sheet metal kind of poofing out from it being all sealed up and the expanding air on the inside of it. I was scared there for a minute. It took so long to get this billet heated up because of how big it is. There was a giant piece of scale on the outside edge. I thought it was the sheet metal. I thought the sheet metal had completely been eaten away in the forge, and it was actually peeled loose, which would have let atmosphere and oxygen into the billet. But as it turns out, I think it was just a giant piece of scale, and our billet should be nice and safe and sound. Now I need to grind off the corners around this sheet metal and peel it off of each side so we can continue forging out the billet. Now it's time to open the Christmas present and see what Santa brought us. Oh, Santa brought us a brand new baby billet. So these are my squaring dies. I'm gonna put the billet up, edge up in here, and it's going to start to distort the layers. It's gonna make those layers curve into what will become W's. I want these kind of passive-aggressive W's that kind of match the W's that I made for the fittings. That's what I'm going for here. So we're gonna add in a little bit of that distortion with these dies next. Okay, that should be enough right there to give us those passive-aggressive W's. Normally, if I wanted those really aggressive W's, I'd keep using these squaring dies all the way until they touched. You can see right here, I'm not going nearly that far. Probably got another inch before they touched. So these should be matching the fittings pretty well. I'm done forging the bar out. I've got it nice and long. It's probably 2.5 feet long or so. I'm gonna let this cool down, then we're gonna grind the scale off of it and cut it up into a bunch of pieces and restack it. It's day 130 of working on the Griffin sword. My billet has cooled down in the forge overnight. It is freezing cold out today. That's why I've got this big old coat and everything on. I'm getting ready to grab the angle grinder, put my glasses on. I've got earplugs in. I'm gonna go out there and take that billet out of the forge and grind all the scale off of it so we can cut it up and see how the pattern looks and restack it. Ah, my eyes. Gotta blink. Okay, let's see how our pattern's looking so far. Oh, it's looking really good. We've got those passive-aggressive W's going on right there. What I mean by passive-aggressive is these little C's on the outside are not super aggressive. They're kind of gentle. My really aggressive W's would have those C's curving in towards the middle a lot further. This is the look I'm going for, though. This should match the way I made the W's for the fittings. I'm gonna cut this bar up into 5 equal length pieces, 5 3/4 of an inch long. I've got all 5 of our billet pieces nice and clean. I've got them all laid out in the order they were cut up because I want the pattern to mirror itself. So the way we do that is have the billet all laid out the way it was cut, and then we leave the first piece. The second piece we flip over. The third piece we just stack it up, and so we do that every other pattern. Every other piece we flip it over. So flip, and then stack. Now the pattern should be mirrored throughout the billet. I'm now going to CA glue them temporarily together and then MIG weld them, sealing up the ends and the sides with the MIG welder so no atmosphere can get in. We'll pop this in the forge and yeah, get it heated up and start forge welding it all together. Got the billet heated up to 22 or 2300 degrees. Time to forge weld it together. Okay, our billet's one solid billet now. All the layers are forged together. I'm gonna grind these MIG welds off the outside edges of the billet because I don't want those to end up as part of our billet. That's what it looks like after I've ground the MIG welds off the edges. I'm done drawing out the billet for now. I'm gonna go ahead and grind the scale off of it while it's cooling down. And then once it's fully cooled, we'll go ahead and cut it up into multiple pieces once again and restack it to multiply the layers again. Here's how our W pattern's looking after I got the billet cut up into 6 pieces. Went ahead and did a quick test stitch, and I am loving our W's. They look very, very good. I've got all the billet pieces all cleaned up. It's time to fold them so they mirror each other throughout. Flip, stack, flip, stack, flip. Now I'll clamp them together, seal them up with the MIG welder, get a handle on the situation, and throw this in the forge. Whew, lost some hair on that one. Got the billet forge welded together. I'm gonna go grind those MIG welds off and pop her back in the forge for another heat. Gonna break the concrete. Yep. Ugh. And chipped up my concrete. Looks like it's time to get a better handle on the situation. After cutting the end of the billet off, here is how our pattern's looking. It is looking so good. I'm very happy with it, but I definitely think it needs to be finer for the pattern to match what's going on with the fittings. I'm gonna cut off 2 inches from this end. We're gonna use that for the buckles and the fittings, and then we're gonna use the rest of this for the throat and tip. Now it's gonna be a little bit tight on material, I think. So I might have to get a little creative. I might have to kind of forge the shape of the tip piece a little bit more, kind of forge it into a triangle, which I wasn't originally planning on doing, but I think I'll be fine with that. Once I get this piece cut off, we'll put a handle back on this and draw it out longer, and then we're gonna be cutting it up into 2 or 3, maybe 4 pieces and stacking that up, and then that'll be we'll have our final layer count then for the throat and tip area. This is day 131 of working on the Griffin sword. I've got the forge lit up and heating up right now. I'm gonna get this big chunk of our billet into the forge, and we're gonna continue stretching this out. We're gonna draw it out so we can cut it up into a couple more pieces and multiply the layers, because I want the layers to be a little bit finer. I think that's drawn out long enough that we'll be able to cut it into 3 or 4 pieces. I'm gonna go ahead and let this cool. And while this is cooling, I'm gonna forge out our other piece of the billet for the belt buckles and all the accessories for the belt. I'm done forging our little billet for the belt buckles and accessories for now. I might have to come back and forge it a little bit more, but I just wanted to get it into a shape that was a little bit closer to the shape that we're gonna use on the belt buckles, so I could start racking my brain on how I wanted to make all that. From here on out, I'm gonna focus my attention back onto the throat and tip billet. I'm gonna go ahead and grind the scale off of it, get it clean, and then cut it up into a couple pieces. It's getting finer. The pattern's gonna be 3 times as fine as it was now because I cut this up into 3 pieces. I'm gonna get these 3 pieces cleaned up and then we'll stack it up, MIG weld them together. That's it, I'm done forging out the piece for our throat and tip. I was really worried if I was gonna have enough steel or not. Looks like I'm gonna have plenty. I left everything a little bit thicker than I need. It's a little wider than I need. It's a little bit longer than I needed. I also went ahead and forged a little bit of the tip shape in, the tip piece. I was gonna leave it just a big block, but I didn't quite have enough material to just leave all that. So I forged in that shape a little bit. I think that'll be really nice anyway. It'll probably make it so the Damascus looks like it's following the shape of the tip a little bit more too. Next thing I need to do is get this thing annealed so we can start working with it. Cutting, grinding, lots and lots of grinding, drilling, milling, all that stuff. Our billet should be done normalizing now. I normalize it at 1600, 1500, and 1400 degrees, letting it cool down to about 500 or 600 degrees in between each temperature. Normalizing resets the grain in the steel and makes it really receptible for heat treating, and it softens it a little bit compared to letting it just air harden out in the open. I'm gonna knock all this scale off the billet and grind it a little bit clean and do a quick etch on it so we can see how the pattern looks on our throat and tip billet. After doing a quick test etch on the pattern, it looks very good. I think I made the right call by tripling the number of layers that were in this billet compared to the number of layers on my fittings of the sword. And the main reason that worked out so well is because this surface area is so much larger than the surface area of the fittings on the sword. So because of that large surface area, you're able to put more layers into it without it looking too fine. I think it's gonna be a really nice balance and look really well with the fittings. Even though I tripled the number of layers in this billet compared to the fittings, it still might be a little bit coarser than the fittings when it's all said and done, but I think it'll look close enough to where it looks like it goes together and it matches well. We're done making this billet for now. I just double checked my measurements and it looks like we've got plenty of length for the billet. We've got a good 5-inch section for the tip and about 3 3/8 for the throat part, which is a little bit more than I need for that. So I think we are golden. This billet looks good. It's been normalized. It's nice and soft right now. In the next video, we're gonna be chopping this thing up and start actually hollowing out the pieces and fitting the throat to the throat and the tip to the tip. If you guys didn't know, my dad is also making some incredible knives. He's a journeyman currently and working towards going for his Mastersmith stamp. If you wanna see some of his work, then check out the link in the description. It's really nice. I will see you in the next video. May the force be with you. Bye-bye.